We're on.
Welcome all HSBN South Florida baseball fans. Over the past few months, we together have been dealing with unprecedented times. We hope you and your family have stayed safe through these trying months. With all the time off, we here at HSBN have taken the opportunity to brainstorm ways to bring more entertainment to your living room each week. In addition to the HSBN Senior Week event and the Senior Scholarship Essay Competition, we have revamped some of our entertainment platforms. I'm proud to announce that we are developing several shows for our HSBN Live YouTube channel. The programs will be a mixed bag aimed at bringing the personalities of our high school community to your computer screens each week. We will be bringing back our highly popular Sunday morning chat feature, which this week will include Taravella manager Joe Jamuli. Joe will be talking about what his program has gone through during this difficult time and how it feels to become a parent, as he and his wife Nicole have eagerly awaited the birth of their daughter this week. We also are working on a 3-part documentary series on the Archbishop McCarthy dynasty, the good, the bad, and the last year of the dynasty. We will be looking at the inner workings of the Maverick program as well as talking to rival coaches and players. Keep your eyes open for that in the coming weeks. But today is a special day here at HSBN as we launch our first interactive video program, Yard Talk. The hosts for this program are Rich Benevides, manager at Keysgate Charter, and everyone's favorite Miami personality, Ernie Padron, manager at Coral Gables. I have both with me right now, so let's find out about this new program. Rich, Ernie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Anthony.
Good. Thank you for having us, Anthony.
So, Rich, you're the brainchild of Yard Talk, so tell me how the idea for all this started.
Yeah, pretty much. This is something I've been sitting on for months, and as I've told you in our sidebars, it was pretty much inspired by the success that HSBN has had as far as how excited people are to go read the articles, look at the stats, the team previews, all of that. And it just, with that kind of train of thought, it got me thinking about, what if we had something interactive? What if we had something where we could get on and talk to some of these guys, talk to some of the personalities like you mentioned, and sort of humanize them so people could understand that the guys that are behind the scenes and the players that are behind the scenes, there's a lot of interesting stories to be had, and to cover it in print, the logistics are just a little bit more difficult. And I thought this was a great way, an opportunity for us to just showcase that a little more. And I've been sitting on it waiting for a perfect co-host, and I found him at a plate meeting during our first week. Ernie and I have known each other for years, since his days at Reef and Florida Christian and stuff like that. But, we had a plate meeting, and I walked away from that plate meeting not even thinking about baseball. I just walked away thinking about, this is the guy that I got to have as a co-host. I can't do without him. So, and that was that. We did the pilot. It was great success, and we're excited. We've got a lot of good reviews from all over, parents, players, coaches. People are excited about it. And with this downtime, why not? Why not? We're excited, and we're honored that, to be the first show to go on the HSBN network. It's an honor.
And Ernie, talk a little bit about what people can expect from this show. Obviously, you're here, you have a ton of baseball knowledge. You have a strong personality that people recognize, not only in Miami, but throughout the state. So tell the viewers what they're in for with this show over the coming weeks.
Well, first, thank you for the kind words, Anthony. When Rich approached me to this, he said, "You, me, podcast," and my answer was, "What? What are you talking about?" And then he got into details what he wanted to do, and I think there's so many stories that are not told that it's tough to put it in print, like he said, and this is a way to basically have the viewers see interaction between coaches, interaction between college coaches, interaction that we could have with players, and just pertinent information and things that we could discuss on here that it's going to be useful for them, like anything from recruiting, anything from evaluations, anything from college coaches coming here and talking baseball, So it's going to be a fun venture. It's going to be something exciting that we're also going to have some fun while doing this. So we're excited, and I just thank HSBN for picking us up and giving us a bigger platform.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to the show myself. And there you have it, fans, straight from the host's mouth, what the show's going to be about. So at this time, let's get right into show number one. I'm pleased to bring you the first episode of Yard Talk with Rich and Ernie.
Hey, sports fans, baseball fans, thank you for joining us, guys. This is our actually second episode because we had a pilot episode, but this will be our official first episode. So we appreciate you guys joining us here at Yard Talk. I got my co-host with the most, Ernie Padron, here.
What's up, guys?
We got a great show lined up for you guys, man. It's very exciting. We've got about 6-7 college coaches, plus something special we're going to start with. But we want to thank you guys, the viewers from our pilot show. Ernie and I put that together on a whim, and it was your guys' viewership, the 200 or so views we got in a couple of days that got us our 6-year multi-million-dollar contract with HSBN. So,
wait, we're getting paid?
Oh no, it's an IOU. It's deferred, like Barry Bonds.
Gotcha. All right.
Not Barry. Hey, not Barry Bonds, like Bobby Bonilla. I'm sorry.
But Bobby Bonilla. Okay, gotcha. Hey, you know what, Rich, man, this is great, but dude, how can you start a show with come on, there's walk-up music to every hitter. There's music for intros to, you go to an FIU game, you go to a UM game, you go to a high school game, there's guys, welcome baseball fans, and now your starting lineup. Why are we getting that? We should get that. You know what? Better yet, why don't we get Luis Perez and Larry Fitz, probably two of the best voices in high school baseball, and some Lewis is like a world traveler now doing the Harlem Globetrotters and other stuff. So why don't we bring these guys in there, see if they could start the show for us? Because we need a proper start to this show.
Yes, sir. Let's do it now. Why don't we do that now?
Let's find them. Let's go.
Let's see if we can get them. Let's go. There's nothing like go. Let's go. Hey, we got more than a Luis Perez over there.
Hey, okay. But hey, Luis, how are you, Luis?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Is Larry there? Where's Larry?
Yes, sir. I'm here. How are you?
Man, great, man. Listen, man, I just had this idea. Thank you for like calling us instantly, like we had this plan or something. But listen, we need to start this show with an introduction. I go to FIU games and I hear Luis, baseball fans, and now your starting lineups for your FIU Pets. We want something like that. And then I hear Larry at Florida Christian games, hardball fans, it's time to meet we need that. Can you guys get that for us right now so we can start to show the right way? We need a proper send-off.
Or start off.
Okay, Luis, how about you? Can you start us off? Let's see what you got, Lou.
All right, here we go. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Baseball fans, it's time for High School Yard Talk with Rich Benevides and Ernie Padron on the High School Baseball Network, discussing anything and everything that pertains to high school game. And now your hosts, Rich and Ernie. Good enough?
I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps. I want to play now. That's it. Hey, Larry, man. No pressure, Larry. Can
no pressure.
Hit us with it, Larry.
All right, here we go. High school hardball fans, we welcome you to the High School Baseball Network. HSBN is proud to present High School Yard Talk, discussing everything, and we mean everything, inside the high school game. And now, hardball fans, we send you to Benevides and Ernie Padron.
Hey, I got goosebumps on top of my goosebumps. That's great, folks.
That made me miss the club more than the baseball field right now. I'm not going to lie.
Well, listen, this is what we're going to do because both of you guys were great. We're going to put it out there for our viewers to decide. Is it going to be Luis or is it going to be Larry? Or is it going to be both of them? We don't know. You viewers, you're going to have to decide. Guys, thank you very much. You guys definitely got us going here, and I'm going to pass it over to Rich so we can start talking about what everybody's here for. Rich, take it away, buddy.
Yes, sir. That was great, man. Thank you, guys. I would like to see a combo as well. First and foremost, gentlemen, we appreciate you guys giving up your time. I know you guys are probably having podcasts and Zoom after Zoom after Zoom with admin and all that. So it really means a lot for you guys to come on. I'd just like to do a quick introduction so our viewers could know who's here. From Hillsboro Community College, we've got Billy, pronounced correctly, Colome. Thank you, Bill. From Eastern Florida, we've got Jason Arnold. From
appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you. Also, we've got Jorge Perez in the house from St. Thomas. George, I was on that podcast last week, and that story you told about throwing the ball into the backstop, I've retold it about 6 times.
Hey, we got to keep that hush.
That was
in case we play Juan, and I want to use it.
Somebody's gonna get hurt.
That was a secret. Rich, we can't tell you anything. That was a secret.
I know, man.
Billy was on that podcast as well, so it's out there. That was classic. Also joining us, we've got Rudy Garbalosa from Lynn University. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry.
Thanks for having me.
And not second to last, we're missing somebody. Tino's not here, but we'll keep on rolling. We got Juan Ranero from Barry. Thank you for joining us, Juan. Really appreciate it. And from Aces Nation, really excited to have this guy. The data that he's going to be able to provide, I think is going to be spectacular. And we'd love to hear what some of the college coaches, what their immediate reaction is. So, Ernie, who do you want to go to first here today?
I think we should, honestly, guys, the reason we had you guys on here last week, we did our pilot episode and we had some seniors, a couple seniors on and some coaches talking about the void that was left with COVID-19 for them, their season cutting short. We got to play 9 games. In fact, we played the Friday, the 13th was the day they told us that we couldn't play anymore. And we happened to play that day. And our kids kind of played flat, and that was their last high school experience for the seniors. So, they were able to explain what they went through. And I know that colleges are now are going to be affected by, the reclassification, some guys staying back, scholarships, roster sizes and all that stuff. And we want to do that. So what I would like to have is Tim from Aces Nation to talk about that data that he shared with me. And one of the things that he brought to light was that 70%, and I don't mean to steal your thunder here, but 70% of all colleges in the United States, NAIA, D1, D2, D3 are private institutions. So
absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. When we were talking earlier today, one of the things that came up is some of the schools that are predicted to be most affected are obviously small private schools. It's a big concern, across the country right now. And in the United States, 77% of all colleges in the United States are private. And most people don't even realize that. You guys do, especially George pointed in NAIA, about 90% of all NAIA schools in the country are private. But even if we look across the state of Florida, the entire Sunshine State Conference is all private schools. Every D2 school in the state of Florida, with the exception of West Florida, is private. We don't have any D3s in the state of Florida. Most of our kids, especially the kids going to high school in South Florida, want to stay in Florida. And so when you look across the entire spectrum, it's concerning because the financial impact that the schools are going to have and that families are having right now, this goes above and beyond all the issues that we have within the sport themselves and the sport of baseball. There's only about 500,000 kids that play high school baseball in the United States. There's only 57,000 kids that play college baseball in the United States. So that means about 11.2% can play at any level of college in the entire country, whether we're talking Christian colleges, junior colleges, all the way up through the D1s. So when we take into account the loss of now programs that are starting to get dropped across the country, the impact on the revenues coming into the school, and the coaches can speak to this better than me, but the sheer NCAA impact that we had from the loss of the NCAA tournament, the revenues coming into the schools at each level, the concern for football. Some people say that that schools can be affected by revenue-wise by 25 to 50% going into the next year on overall revenues. So then we have, Ernie, the concern of what is that going to do across the board for scholarship. You have schools like Akron that have already cut. Not only are they cutting programs, but they had to cut $4.4 million of their scholarship budget. And if we start to see that trickle down effect of how it not just impacts the athletic aspect of scholarships, but the financial packages that are able to be created because of the lack of funding. I would imagine, and I can speak from a parent's perspective because I have a son that's at the University of Tampa. He's going to be a junior. My concern of things like frag disappearing, the concern, at the state level of not having state or federal dollars that come through because there are no business revenue, there's no sales tax revenue or business revenue funding the state. What is that going to do to the impact of the schools? So this massive trickle-down effect is not just about the athletic dollars, and you guys are going to get into the other aspects of it, but when you start looking about scholarships and roster spots and positions in conjunction with all these other components, there's going to be a massive trickle-down effect that a lot of the regular everyday people don't even see because they don't understand how it's all intertwined. They really don't see it. All they think, a parent thinks that their kid's going to play, they're going to come play for one of you guys, and you guys are going to be able to put together a package and give them money to play. They don't understand where all that money comes from and how it all works. And I think that's the biggest concern that I have for people coming into college. The juniors and seniors right now, what's going to happen? That's my worry. But that's how I see the numbers playing out, guys. I mean, if you're looking at, at the D2 level, coaches, you can speak to this, but the average scholarship across the United States for athletics only is about $6,500. That's across the entire United States, $6,571, Division II athletic scholarship. If that budget gets cut and there's any other cut, for merit money or other things along the way, what's that going to look like in the gap differential between that and the total cost of attendance?
Juan, could you speak to that one? Coach Ranero, could you speak to that since you're at the D2 level? Could you speak to, some of this data Tim just gave us? Like, how's your program being impacted by that as far as scholarships, returning seniors, incoming freshmen, guys guys who are on the bubble in the middle that you might not be able to offer any money to? Can you speak to that?
Sure. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. I think part of what's going on, and I think it's across the board with all of us, is there's a lot of tough budgetary decisions that each institution has to make as to what's right for them and what's not. And I think what they've done, and I'll speak on mine, I know Rudy and I talk a lot, so we may be in the same boat, but I think what they did with us is the NCAA granted and our institution accepted all the seniors being able to come back. I think the next decision that was made was in terms of a money standpoint, they didn't fund those seniors. So for example, in my case, the guys that had been on scholarships, they could come back, but their scholarships wouldn't be renewed. So we had to make a decision as to how to make it and how to make it work as best as possible. Obviously, we're recruiting, so we've already spent some of the money that we had allowed it to for incoming freshmen. So I had a little bit of money left. So basically, I had 9 guys that were returning. We had to make the decisions. I think 4 of them were graduating, so we encouraged them to go ahead, helped them to be able to graduate, and left it up to them if they wanted to come back with the understanding that they would not be scholarshiped at that point. Then the guys that were still out there that have eligibility left that do want to come back, I wanted to try to get as much as possible of what we had left over in terms of athletic scholarships and try to get them as close as possible to what they were getting before with the money I had, and trying to be loyal to them because they had been loyal to our program, some of these guys for 4 years. So you want to make sure that you kind of treat them right and take care of them. So that's kind of the avenue that we took. As far as, everything you guys have mentioned, I think you have guys, you can have, the incoming freshman class, you're going to guys that are coming back. You're going to have guys who are already here. You're going to have a bunch of guys, which is, from the university standpoint, not a terrible thing in terms of the numbers. That I think all institutions are looking for numbers. So, we may have expanded rosters. We may look at having a JV program. We're kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen with all that. But I think what's happening, and it's going to happen across the board, is you're going to have a bunch of kind of like a log jam. You're going to have really good players for the next couple of years in your programs because you have those seniors coming back, you have incoming freshmen, you have the talent. So you're going to probably see really good college baseball for the next couple of years. In terms of, where we're going to go with it and how we're going to finish up with it, I think it's going to be a lot on development. It's going to probably be a lot tougher on the coaches because we're going to probably have to work longer hours to be able to try to figure out how to do these guys as far as development with these guys. So it might be the type of thing where we're going to have to do a lot more segmented type practices so that we continue to develop the guys we have. And, after this year, you kind of foresee a big chunk of openings or a big chunk of guys that is going to leave a void. So I know, for example, in our case, I'm going to be heavily recruited because I'm going to lose, a lot of the upcoming seniors that were juniors last year, plus the guys that come back if they do end up coming back. And it's going to be a big gap. So you're going to see a lot of guys having to recruit and having to bring in a lot of players from that standpoint.
George, I saw you nodding your head there when Coach Ranero started talking about development. Did you have a point you wanted to make on that?
No, I think what he said with expanded rosters, our rosters are going to be big. I just think the development of our players, it's going to have to be at an all-time high. And on top of that, competition is going to be at an all-time high. So we're going to have to, I think as a coach, I mean, I know personally I have, and I know you have some phenomenal coaches here. We all put in long hours, but it's going to have to be longer because we have more people to deal with. We want to be fair to all our players. And there's going to be a lot of guys. It's a positive thing when Juan said, yeah, we're going to have a lot of good players and we should have a lot of good competition. And the game's going to be pretty good. That's the positive side. Negative side is that you're going to have a lot of pretty good players that it's going to be tough for them to get some playing time. On top of that, you're going to have incoming freshmen that are coming in, or high school seniors that are coming in, that most of them, I would think a lot of them are going to get redshirted the first year, even though they're pretty good, because it does you no good to bring in a freshman and you have a senior with experience that's returning, that you know what he can do, and just bring a freshman and start playing them over that senior or upperclassman. So, yeah, there's positives in that respect, but I just think it's going to be a difficult year. And the ones I feel for the most, and I think that's why we're doing this, are the high school seniors. There's going to be a lot of high school seniors. Obviously, the season was cut short. A lot of guys were very lucky that they were able to sign early. But there's a lot of guys, as we all know, especially at Division II level, NAIA level, junior college level, that get picked up late. And those opportunities are not going to be there. Also, the money's less. It's a difficult time. I know as a coach, like Juan said, and I speak to Rudy all the time, yeah, we should be more talented. We should be deeper. Rosters are going to be very experienced. But it's a difficult time because there's going to be a lot of pressure put on the coaches, yeah, we're going to have better teams, but, you want to be fair to your kids too. So we are going to have to develop guys, and we're going to have to coach our butts off, because that's the only way. Juan does a great job at Barry. Barry's good. So does Rudy at Lynn. And I'm just trying to bring up coaches that we play against. And those are going to be battles. But it's going to be good baseball for the fans. But it's going to be, huge battles, but more than they've ever, I think they've ever been. And they're usually pretty, darn good. So, yeah, we're going to develop players. It's going to be tough. And even the junior colleges, we have junior college coaches here. Those programs are stacked, I would think, right now.
Yeah, I got a great question for those guys. Both Juan and yourself mentioned loyalty and fairness to your kids, because you have a lot of these guys for years, and you get them at 17, 18 years old, and they walk out as men, 24, 25 years old. and Billy and Jason at you guys are the feeders for the pros, for the D1s, twos, wherever you send guys to the NAIAs, you guys feed those guys, and you guys are in a crazy predicament because you also are very tight with your guys. I've seen Hillsboro games, and I've known Bill my whole life, and we share a lot of coaching philosophies in common. But on the other side of that, June 11th, there's something that's happening, right? There's a 5-round draft. And these guys are the guys that thought they were gonna go in the 16th round or 17th or 20th round. Hey, where are they gonna fall? They're gonna fall in Jason's lap and Bill's lap. And how do you guys navigate that? Do you send some, Bill? I don't want to steal the thunder of your answer because you've got fringe guys too that maybe didn't even start last year. What do you do with those guys? Either of you guys or both of you guys, man. I'd love to hear your point of view.
I'll go ahead and speak first, Jay, and then, if I miss anything, I'll tell you the difficult thing at our level always is trying to find that unity, trying to get a team to work together because wins and losses make a difference in the long haul. Those teams at our level that experience, success winning, they end up getting all of these highly talented people when they decide to leave junior college, leave Division I's and stuff like that. So the pressure to be a winning program is there. And I believe a factor is to be able to have, a group of guys that are working together. And we only have 1 year to do it. The difficult thing, the monkey wrench at the junior college level is being able to get everybody to buy in. You have a group of guys that in many aspects don't lack any selflessness. They need to get a little humble, and they're all looking for personal goals. So then I guess the point is that, the loyalty aspect it's a very difficult thing to manage for me right now. I have a situation where I had a heavy freshman team. I could have easily brought back 75% of my roster. But then, the pressure of maybe these guys that I'm bringing back are not as talented as the people that are going to be on the market. So, how do I balance that out? Which are the guys that I keep? Which are the guys that I bring back on scholarship? And, what am I going to do when there is an opportunity June 11th and there's a guy who expected to get drafted in the 15th round, doesn't want to go to 3 years without the draft. So he's going to want to go to a junior college so that he's eligible for next year. That kid that's going to be out in that market, if I don't take him, Jason will. And, and I play Jason early in the season. So I don't want to give him that edge. So it's a balance act that I wish I had all the answers to right now, but I don't.
Jason, you want to chime in there? This has got my brain going to ask you guys even more, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I think the hardest thing for us at the moment at this level is that you're kind of constantly balancing between, taking the known factor, like Billy was saying, the 75% of his roster. You got this group of guys that you know what you're going to get, or even the freshmen that you sign and you're pretty sure you know what you're going to get. Then there's that mystery of, man, what about these transfers that are now, I don't know what your email inbox looks like, but mine is just, I could have a new team every week. It's just constantly and these are probably some pretty talented guys, you know what I mean? And then what happens after the draft? How many spots do you leave open? Are you getting the right guys? And then if you're just getting guys that are just transferring character, your character, you don't know what you're getting necessarily. So you're constantly trying to walk that line of, talent and unknown versus known factor. And, it's tough for us. We're trying to build a team full of guys that we can rely on that are high character guys as well. And trying to mold these into young men that these other coaches can really want from us. And I have a tendency personally to be like, man, should I really wait? Should I really wait on guys that I don't know about? Or should I take some of these guys that I feel more comfortable with? And then like the other coaches were saying, you're going to end up with 5-10 more guys on your roster in the fall than normal. And all of a sudden, now you're talking about time management and what are you going to do with those guys? it's the puzzle is large at the moment at our level too. And then there's the whole other side that these other guys, fortunately for them, don't have to deal with, and that's getting their guys out to a new school. You know, we're at that unique level where we're recruiting constantly and replenishing our roster, but our job, a big part of our job, is to help these kids go on to a four-year school. And a lot of those guys are seeing kind of the difficulties of that at the moment. And, you know, can we take them back? Do we need to send them on? Like, holy man, every day is a new day right now, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring in another point that's super important to understand. You know, we have kids returning that maintain their eligibility status, but they've gained significant ground on the academic side. So now you have, you have a decision to make if you're going to keep a kid who's a freshman, and are you going to welcome him being recruited to move on as a sophomore? And, you know, our administration is really heavy on making sure guys graduate. So I have a group of individuals that are going to come back as freshmen and really only need 2 more semesters to graduate with their AA degree. So now I have to be proactive in making sure my friends at the 4-year level are aware of these players, are aware of their availability. And then I have to plan accordingly. I have to make sure that I have enough guys in the tank to come back the following year and keep somewhat of a consistent program in place, as opposed to starting all over again. So, those are factors as well. You want a little bit of veteran experience. You want a little bit of familiar, guys being familiar with the program. But you also need to make sure that you are at a par with everybody else at our level when it comes to the talent. So
yeah, a 6th-round draft pick ain't that bad to be knocking on your door, right?
No, it's not. It's not.
Well,
and then 20 grand. Hey, Rudy.
Before you go to Rudy, Rich, another thing that's not mentioned, because there was only a few states that got to play high school baseball this year, you know, and there's some states that didn't start. And I know for a fact there's a young man by the name of Austin Hendricks, who I saw play in the summer in Cleveland. Their team didn't play, and there was question marks on him, and he was supposed to go top 5 pick, and now he might fall to the point where, you know what, he might end up in college. And that's just one case. And I'm sure that there's many cases like that with only 5 rounds available. So what does that happen? That pushes the situation even to a bigger predicament, because you're going to have a backlog of high school kids that they thought, oh my gosh, I was going to go in the first 5 rounds, and guess what? I'm not going to sign for $20,000 as a free agent. And the same thing with some JUCO guys, and some same things with some guys that could have that extra year. So it's a huge, more questions than answer, I think, is what we're dealing with right now. I'm sorry, Rich, to interrupt you.
No worries. It's just what Bill brought up is about was the academic side of it, and how some of these guys are so far along academically. And that just made me think about, the 4-year schools. And I know you guys got some seniors coming back that you would love to have, but maybe you got some seniors coming back that should graduate. Like, how do you differentiate between the two, the guy that you really want back and give some money to, and the guy that you say, hey, you want to be a volunteer coach, you want to be like, how do you navigate through that?
Is that for me, Rich?
Yeah, that's for you, Rudy.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. All of these things, it's so interesting that we've heard from some great coaches, all these different angles and questions, as Ernie said, that keep coming up. And more and more and more questions keep coming up. It's like that cartoon when I was, these kids probably never seen that cartoon ever, but when I was a kid, it was like Bugs Bunny, and they kept throwing things on top of his hands, and he's juggling, and another one until it falls off. And that's kind of what this situation is like. Like, every time something happens, it throws another wrench in this whole thing. Like, you've got, Ernie just mentioned the draft. Well, that affects all programs, because a lot of late round guys are now not going to get the opportunity to sign, which now are going to present more guys coming back for schools. And then seniors, like, we're very fortunate where, we've got 9 seniors and 8 of them are graduating. Well, now, like, virtual graduation for now. and one of them has 1 semester left. So all of those factors play in. Here's the other factor. Yes, they got their year back athletically. They got to get into grad school. Can they get into grad school? That's the other thing. Do they have the grades to get into grad school? Do they have the pedigree to get into grad school? And then the financial piece of that. In some places, grad school is cheaper than undergrad. In some places, grad school is more expensive than undergrad. So these are all the factors in terms of coming back, not coming back. I was very fortunate this year that we had a really wonderful senior class, a really good group, a good mixture of guys that were core builder guys, culture guys that had roles and were really good about knowing their roles and grabbing some of the younger guys aside and teaching them their role. And look, this is how it works. This is how you got to pay your dues. And then we had some talented seniors as well, and like you said, who can you afford to bring back is really the difficult question. Is financially, where do you look at, how can you help some of these guys? And in our case, it's going to be very sporadic. It's like, who can we help? And I don't know of any schools that are giving or adding scholarship dollars for the seniors. I've not heard of anybody yet. So as Coach Ranero said earlier, it's basically we have to figure out within our current budget what is available and who can you offer that money to that can best take advantage of it. So to me, it's not an only athletic decision. It has to be a full program decision and what's best for everybody and the kid. And, I wish there was an easy, clear-cut formula to say, hey, you know what? Those 2 guys are the most talented guys. We've got to get those guys back. Let's offer them the money. However, the money may not be available. You may only have 5%. So 5%, who's gonna come back for 5%, so to speak, on that? And some guys may afford to pay, may be able to afford to pay for their own grad school. Some guys may not. And it presents a very interesting dynamic, because you've got all the guys you recruited that have already been promised the dollars, and our institution is honoring that, which I believe is the right thing to do. You got to honor your commitments, and you're honoring your commitment to your seniors. They're graduating, they're getting their degrees. It's unfortunate that they had half a season. We're lucky. We're one of the lucky ones. We played 22 games, right. And they've honored their academic commitment, but they get another year. So how can we make this work that's best for everybody?
I think you brought up a great point, that I think us as high school coaches, college coaches, that we spend a lot of time talking to parents, and a lot of parents, really don't understand, and players as well, how important academics are going to be right now, more than ever. Because if a guy's got a 3.6, hey, if he's got a 3.6, a 1200 SAT, guess what? At an NAIA or Division III, he might be able to do some things and at every level. I know even at HCC, if I call Bill and say, hey man, I got a guy, guess what? He's got prepaid, he's a monster, and he's got a 3.8, and he scored 1200 on the SAT. Holy, hey. So I think this is a teaching tool for the parents that are going to listen in, and for the kids that are going to listen in, that their academic performance and achievements have to be, because you never know what's going to transpire. And I mean, we're living in it. Ernie had his Alanis Morissette a joke last week, and I don't know if you guys have heard it, maybe you guys, but it was a good one. Ernie, you've been quiet. So
don't put me on a spot. We're serious right now. but listen, to that I say these institutions are specifically the conference that Barry plays in, that Lynn plays in. Man, the national champion in that D2 has come out of that conference. I think in the last 10 years it's been 7 or 8. Am I right, guys? That conference is Division I baseball. It's better than some mid-major Division I baseball. But parents don't understand that, don't want to hear, oh, you're going to here, you're going there. They don't want to hear it. But at the end of the day, the focus has to be baseball comes to an end. What did you do after baseball ends? And everybody on here through one way or another, got their degree because of baseball. Not me, because I stunk. But believe it or not, baseball comes to an end. And then what did you do after that? And you guys are benefactors of what baseball got you guys: degrees, education, and a chance to make money doing something you guys love. So parents fall into this misconception that, oh, Division II, I'd rather play at Barry, Lynn, not Florida Tech, Florida Southern, than some major Division Ones. Yes, I would rather have my son do that. And that's my 2 cents. And the Alanis Morissette reference was, we're living in an Alanis Morissette song because isn't it ironic? Gas prices are down, but we can't leave the house. Airplane fares are down, but we can't leave the house. You know. And then up to top it off, on last Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo fell on a Taco Tuesday, and we can't celebrate anything because of a Mexican-named virus. So that was the whole joke that I used.
You told it a lot better last week, Ernie. I think,
I don't handle
it. I think you were ready. You had strapped your batting gloves. You had done your whole routine.
I didn't get walk-up music this time. I don't handle
a week older.
well.
He's a week older. He's forgetting things.
A week older.
He's gonna have his insurer at 3:30.
He was never a good pinch hitter. He was never a good pinch hitter.
Nah, I never hit her.
George, I got a question for you. This is something that we spoke about last week, that the experiences that we had as coaches with our teams. I, like Ernie, I found out maybe 30 minutes before game time, and we were lucky enough to have a 7 p.m. game that night down in Monroe County, who wasn't canceling anything. So we got to have a moment, we got to talk. Coral Shores actually did an impromptu senior day, and we stood on the line and we clapped for them, and our guys spoke before and after the game. I changed the lineup. I played the seniors. That might have cost us the game, but it didn't matter. You know what I mean? I had to give those guys their opportunity. But I know you guys have been doing very well, and I'm very familiar with some of the guys on your roster. And I'd like to ask, how was it when the news broke for you guys? Were you guys on the field? Were you at practice? Were you at a game? Like, how was it? It was emotional for me. I went to a shell. I didn't talk to my players for a week, man. It's honestly.
Well, I'm going to give you probably a worse one than that. Not with the seniors. I mean, obviously that's terrible, and we didn't know what was going to happen with our seniors either at that time. But we were on our way to South Carolina. From there, we were going to Louisiana to play LSU. So that was pretty tough. A once in a lifetime opportunity, and we raised a ton of money to go. So once we were on the bus on our way to South Carolina, I think it was on a Thursday. No, I know it was on a Thursday, March 12th to be exact. And we're on our way, and you start seeing all these dominoes fall. And I had talked to Paul Maneri on the way over there, and he said that because I already had made the decision too that it doesn't look like we were going to go to LSU, because he told me they were not going to be able to play in front of fans. So to make that trip to play in an empty stadium was kind of dumb. So I was already making this decision on my way over there. We're going to turn around after the South Carolina trip. And then all the dominoes start to fall. Paul calls me back and tells me, hey, we wouldn't have played anyway. The Ole Miss series, that it's canceled, which was the weekend after. And they were going to play in front of an empty stadium too. And then the dominoes start to fall where you see the College World Series was canceled. So you knew it was really bad. So what I did is we stopped. We said, you know what? I think we were by Daytona Beach. I said, we're going to go to a really good restaurant. And I went and I spent about 3 days of food in that one place, and they got everybody steak dinners and everything. So that's the only thing we could do. I spoke to him. I knew it was going to be over then, but I didn't know what was going to happen. So that was tough. And the situation just got worse from that point on, man. That was actually a good day when you start thinking about everything that's happened since then. So, Rudy and I speak a lot. And he said it best when he said the NCAA and the NAIA and the junior colleges are just trying to make a good situation out of a bad one, because that's what it is. So, yeah, it was tough. Now we're going to go play LSU, man. So probably have to wait another 3 or 4 years if we ever get a shot to do that again.
Yeah, I remember being told that by one of your guys, and they were so stoked about it. And I didn't even think about that, so many things. How about you, Ranero. I know you guys were doing very well, actually.
Yeah, we were having a great season, and I mean, I found out that same Thursday. I guess everybody else found out on that same Thursday, and we're having practice before we're leaving to go play St. Leo Friday morning at 7:30, and it starts to get weird. And you know, I got kids coming in from class saying, "Coach, I saw on my phone the NCAA saying this, that there's going to be no championships. Is that true?" Well, I'm out at practice. I have no idea. I have no phones out there, no nothing. So I say, well, let me go check. I go inside. I check with our compliance officer. Well, nothing's set yet with you guys. By the time we finished practice, it had already been determined that, yeah, they're going to put a hold to things and things. But I'm a go. And in this age with, with everything that goes on with social media, shower, leave, get home. I'm at home and my players start saying, "Coach, we're not playing tomorrow." What? We're not playing. Let me check. I call my AD. My AD doesn't know anything. We're not, he says, yeah, the conference is talking about it. No, you may not play. Well, how am I going to find out? Well, call their coach. I remember clearly, it was about 8:30 at night. I talked to their coach. Their coach said, "Nope, we're good to go. We'll see you tomorrow and we'll get after it." And I'm pumped. I'm like, all right. And a couple hours go by and my AD calls me and says, "You're not playing. You're done." And I'm like, "What?" And I said, "I talked to their coach." He goes, "No, you better call their coach and find out." I called their coach. Their coach knows nothing about it. He tells me, "No, we're a go. We're playing tomorrow." And and I said, "Well, you better check with your AD because my AD told me we're not playing." And he goes, "What?" So I told their coach. So, he says, "Let me call you right back." And it's almost midnight before he gets back to me. And he lets me know that, yep, he finally got a hold of their AD and we're not playing. And at that point, it's too late to call my guys. So I go in at 7:00 in the morning to get on a bus and my guys in the locker room. And that's how we broke it to our guys. And that was the toughest thing in the world. They're all packed, bags, ready to go. And that's how they find out that their season has come to an end. And then it becomes a lot more real when you see the faces of the seniors and these guys who have worked for 4 years and have performed and they're, everything that they've worked towards as far as accomplishing. I think at the time we were 17-4. We're having a great season, playing great baseball. And you see these 21, 22-year-old kids just melt in front of each other and what that was like in the locker room. And they don't get it. And obviously at that age, I probably wouldn't have gotten it either. And, you got as a coach and the head of the program, you got to let them know, hey, there's reasons behind this and, we'll figure it out. And that's how we learned about it and how we handled it and how, it was tough. And I'm sure, I think Rudy and I talked that afternoon probably 2 or 3 times. So that's how we got through it.
Jason, you got something. These two are tough, man. 7 a.m. and then on the way to LSU. How about you guys, Jason?
Hey, you're on mute, big guy.
I got him.
I'm good.
I got you.
Good. Yeah, we unmuted each other at the same time. We were at practice. It was much the same. We had played on Wednesday against Palm Beach and won like a 1-0 game. Like our guy threw a complete game 2-hitter. Was like a real high moment of the season for us to win a conference game. And the next day it just kind of all started unfolding on everybody's phones. And it was at practice. And the difference at the junior college level for what happened, I mean, I can't even imagine for you guys at the 4-year level, because you're looking at these guys that are really looking square in the face of being done playing forever. And that day comes for all of us, no doubt about it. But when it comes unexpectedly, it's a much tougher pill to swallow. And while that's probably the case still for some of Billy and my guys, that their time might have been up, none of them really thought it like that. It was more of a, what the heck's going to happen next? I think it was more, short-term fear of, what are we going to do with ourselves now? And I don't think that really had sunk in with any of them that, like, my time at Eastern's up, or, I might not play ever again. I think it was more of like, what the heck? Well, where are we going to go from here? Do we stay? Do we leave? And then, everyone's talking about eligibility. So, yeah, ours definitely wasn't as dramatic as those guys. I really can't imagine having to be that final straw of, this is it, man. I love you guys. I've been here with you 4 years, 5 years with some guys, and I can't tell you that we're going to see you again. I mean, that's the worst.
Jason, how many games did you guys play?
We played 26, so we played as much or more than anybody in the whole country probably at any level. So, alluding to Billy's point earlier, man, we got to see half a season. So these guys that we're making decisions on, we're making pretty informed decisions on a lot of them. You feel like what you're keeping, or maybe that you have to cut, or and the value of that from our standpoint that's going to benefit these other coaches on here later is, man, if they go to you with 3 years eligibility, or if they stay with us for the third year and they go with you for 2 years, man, you're getting a much more fine guy now that got almost, he got a full a half a season of experience to go play on top of his eligibility. So, I mean, our number one guy threw over 40 innings. I mean, that's solid, man. And he's going to, get to enjoy that experience, and not for free. You shouldn't say that, but, on top of his normal eligibility. But, man, yeah, it just all around, man, this is just unprecedented.
It sucks. Yeah.
Hey, Rich, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Rudy or Juan, either one. But really, it's two questions. Number one, from the school's perspective, now with the elimination in many schools and in the NCAA for ACT, SAT requirements right now, going into this upcoming season, does that change? Well, two parts. One, does it change anything that you're doing in terms of recruiting, that you might be able to go grab a kid that might be a really good player, that might be a decent student, but may not be a stellar student? Whereas, I've always been all about the student athlete. Grades, everything mattered more than everything else. But we're in this rare situation right now where there's going to be kids that are going to get opportunities to go to schools, get into schools, and go play in programs and get recruited by programs that they might have otherwise not been able to have that opportunity to do, just because of this kind of window. And I would imagine that the schools, whether it be a Lynn or a Barry or a Tampa, wherever, they're also going to be losing other students along the way because of just financially they can't come back to school. Forget about athletics, just in general, the student population. So are they going to kind of have to, without potentially acknowledging it, if you will, bring students into the school that might not have gotten into the school, thus opening the opportunity for you guys to get players that you might not have gotten otherwise?
Great question. Juan, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Go, Rudy. Juan's muted. Go for it.
You go ahead. Start. I'll back you up.
You can close it. We'll get you warmed up in the pen. You can close it, bro. Close it up. So great question, Tim. There's also relief for junior college transfers as well. So it's two-pronged approach. So a lot of things come to mind right off the bat with that. Is as you mentioned, 75% or so of the schools are private, which means they rely a lot on academics for funding. You take a $50,000 a year education. There's not enough scholarship dollars to cover that and have players on your team and have a roster. So a lot of that has to come from academic money and the importance of academics. So the first part of that is, how are the schools going to handle that from the admissions office, which is the biggest point, I think, in this whole thing. Hey, that's great. They're going to give us relief. Same thing with the seniors. Hey, they got another year. Okay, you guys figure it out. That's kind of what the NCAA has kind of done. It's like, hey, we're gonna Mother Teresa is here. We're giving everybody everything, but hey, you got to figure it out. Each school has to figure it out, and that is I think you hit the nail on the head. That is the crux of the question. How is each school, their admissions office and their athletic, going to be able to handle that? Both the incoming freshman that's going to get some exceptions, that may be able to take advantage of this, and the junior college player who may be able to take advantage of these pass fails or the let's say relaxed SAT scores and all of those situations. So to me, state schools, I think, if they have openings, can be more aggressive in those players, I think, than private institutions, because they don't rely as heavily on the academic money.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
Go to the pen.
With Rudy.
Do the righty.
Yeah, call it.
To follow up what Rudy just said, he's dead on. That's exactly right. I mean, baseball, there is no full scholarships. So you got to try to piece together as much as you can, and you got to put packages together based on the academic money that they're getting and so forth. I think what becomes difficult, and I can't speak for Rudy, but I'm assuming it's the same thing. I'm assuming it's the same thing at Tampa. What becomes difficult is we all have this graduation rate thing that we have to take a look at. So if you bring in athletes that are not qualified and they get, they don't make it because you brought in a poor student, I think, again, in my institution, I'm going to be frowned upon for doing that. So I think it becomes a tricky thing. I think from a school standpoint, the relaxed ACTs might be all right to get them into school and for the school itself to have it. But from the athletic department, I don't think there'd be a big push, at least in my school, to get students that are not qualified as far as meeting the criteria anyway. The fact they can't take them, they'll probably just go based on the GPA, and we'll have to make decisions based on those GPAs. But again, hopefully, the administrators understand, hey, they didn't make it. There is reasons behind that also. And they take that into account a little bit, if you understand what I'm saying, as far as the graduation rate when it comes out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question, Juan, because I understand that these scholarships have to be pieced together, academic and some scholarship money, and then FRAG money, and also the FAFSA money and all that stuff. It's, bundled up to make the school affordable. But how is academic money going to be passed out if there is no test scores? If some institutions, that's the basis of the awards. So, yeah, you're going to have flexibility getting kids in, but they're going to have to pay their own way. Is that what you're trying to say, or am I understanding it right?
No, I think what they'll do is they'll just look at the GPA and try to come up with whatever type of matrix that they come up with when they base GPA and SAT together. I think they'll probably just go based on the GPA and maybe the class rank and things like that in determining what that academic scholarship is going to be. At least at our place, that's what they're doing.
Okay.
I'm imagining, Rudy, same at yours.
They also look at the courses they took as well. So like if you have a 4.0 and you took, fundamental courses in PE and ceramics, that's going to weigh differently than if you're in the AP courses and the honors courses. 4.0 taking honors and so forth has more value than the non-high academic courses. You're exactly right, Juan.
Yeah, so that's great advice for parents that are watching this, that if your son is able to take those AP courses, to be able to take something advanced, because obviously it's going to help them down the road, prepare them for college. So thank you guys for those answers.
Ernie,
Yes.
I just got a blurb came across the ticker.
Uh-oh.
We've gone 6 minutes over our show, our allotted time, our time slot.
So they won't let us air the show tomorrow, Anthony?
No,
we're good?
no. If not, we're
we fired?
We're going to cut it Days of Our Lives or something that's supposed to come on next.
Don't worry about it. We'll preempt them.
Don't shoot the messenger.
We're gonna
honestly, guys, man, we
for the 3 days if you guys want.
I think we could go on about these topics forever, but we just want to kind of keep the content where parents can sit down and watch it while they're outside walking their dogs or doing whatever they're doing in these days. I go ride bike every day. I've seen more people in my neighborhood than I've ever seen in my life exercising. So
That's true.
you know, number one, we appreciate you guys, man. I think this was very informative. It was a lot of information for players and parents, and for us to figure out and navigate what we're all going to do and how we're going to do it, how we're going to try to be loyal to our players, how do we try to be loyal to our kids, and ultimately the programs and the institutions, because I don't know who gets brought back for going 0-40, so you got to win some ball games out there. So it's really tough to navigate, but I'd like to extend you guys an invitation to come on to later chats. I mean, I had a great time. I was overwhelmed by how many guys we were able to get. So I want to thank you guys personally. Ernie, you're probably going to put it in a more rambunctious term. So I'll give the floor to you so you can put it out.
Rich and Ernie, can I say one thing, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go ahead, George.
Just something I think that's important, especially this going to high school players, high school parents, and high school coaches going to be listening. I think now more than ever, especially with everything that we've spoken about, the overcrowding of rosters, the draft being low, and the academic side being a little different on how they're accepting kids and accepting students. I really believe that now the high school coach is more important than ever, because travel ball and all that has really killed the importance of high school and high school sports and the actual high school coach. And I think now with the situation that has happened, I think there's more importance laid on the coach, because now you really have to not just be a coach, but also an advisor, because now the openings are not like they were before. The slots, the roster sizes are so full, the opportunities are less and less. So players are really going to have to do some research, try to find the right school, have to go out of state, find the right place. It's going to be harder than it was before. So they have to be more of an advisor. And also one thing that I really believe is that, especially with all the programs that are here that are really good baseball programs, that we have to teach our kids to be patient. And I know that's hard in today's world with instant gratification, the phones, and you get information so quickly. But I really believe that we have to teach patience, because these players are going to come in, and players usually are pretty good that are used to playing right away. And that's not going to be the case with these overloaded rosters. And they're going to have to be patient, and they're going to have to imagine this. They're going to have to earn everything that they get, because there's going to be a lot of good players, and they're going to have to learn, and it's going to create a great work ethic. It's going to create, guess what? It's going to prepare them for life. So I think that we have to, if they're listening, really high school coaches have to do this, and there's even more on their plate. But I think it'll be better. It'll be a better situation for the players that are coming up. And again, these are good programs here, and I know we're all full, so they're going to have to really find places and do more research and try to find the right place for them.
Thank you, George, and that's very true. And I want to say thank you to all of you guys for coming on here, and thank you more importantly for being a friend, because I called you guys right away, and some of you guys. Willie, Billy, and Jason, I worked with you guys over the summer. Thank you. And the other coaches that are on here, at some point, you guys were in high school. I'm still stuck here. And you guys coached against each other, and we had some battles. And there's a lot of respect, man. Thank you very much. And Tim, thank you also for coming on. You guys made the show, and it's this information is invaluable for our parents, our kids, everybody out there. So thank you again. Thank you, Anthony, for having us. Rich, we're done here, buddy.
Yeah, I'd like to talk for hours, but I appreciate you guys again, man. And I don't have everyone's contact info, but I'll get it from Ernie, and I'd love to just reach out to you guys, especially just to pick your guys' brains about our kids and other kids in the program that we can help make informed decisions. So.
You're such a salesman, man. You're such a salesman. Holy cow, dude.
You don't need Billy's contact. Don't worry about Billy's contact. We'll get you mine.
Billy and I played high school
together. Down, Jason.
Billy and I played high school together.
Oh, man.
Sorry to hear that. Don't worry, Jason.
He played. I watched.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having us.
Good night.
Thank you
Have
very
a
much
great
for
night.
having me.
Good night, guys.
Thanks,
Bye-bye,
guys.
Bye-bye.
Ernie, wow, that was a smash, man. I think that went really well, and what an honor to have all those guys come on and give us that information for the parents and players. I mean, yeah, I thought it was fantastic, man. A lot of questions that are still unanswered, but hopefully, we help people get a better viewpoint on how not toxic, but how fragile this situation is, that there's nothing concrete. So, take some of that advice you heard at the end from Jorge Perez about patience, and we're still trying to figure this out.
Yeah, and I think the analogy that Rudy Garbalosa from Lynn said, that, that cartoon of just you're juggling 10 things and then they throw another one at you, and there's 12 things before you know it. And there's so many things. There's more questions than answer through this, but it at least this episode allows a little view into what these college coaches are going through, and the players that are coming into some college coaches and what to expect, man. Man, it was awesome, man. My head's about to explode with all this information, man. It was great. Those guys are awesome. It's good to have friends. You just call them and they say, yeah, man, we'll be on. And it's awesome, man. Next week, we got another great show. We don't know what we might do. We might, who knows? We'll surprise you, man. You just got to be on here, tune in on Wednesday nights, and we're going to make it fun. We're going to make it informative. We're going to make it worth your time. So thanks again. Have a great night, and thanks for watching us here on Yard Talk.